How can you sit there and deny it? You ruined my life, you hear me? You ruined everything.
Based on the jury's verdict, this court sentences the defendant to life imprisonment.
A rich woman named Vanessa Whitmore walked into courtroom number 9, believing she could buy her way out of anything. Diamond earrings sparkled the kind of confidence only powerful people carry after spending years getting away with cruelty. Single mother, part-time waitress at small downtown's restaurant called Sunset Grill. Simple black uniform, eyes, hands shaking quietly while holding small envelope against her chest. At first glance, nobody would imagine these two women had ever crossed paths. Restaurants and now entire courtroom was about to witness consequences. Judge Rebecca Morris entered courtroom, calmly known across California for it stood respectfully. Except Vanessa barely moved from chair. Judge Morris noticed. Sat down slowly. Counselor, proceed. Vanessa's barely moved stood confidently. Your Honor, my client, Miss Whitmore, unfortunate of false accusations and emotional harassment. Maria lowered her eyes quietly inside local restaurant. This case is Mas. Awfully. Attorney stood Your Honor, Miss, publicly under assault, and this Judge Morris Mesfier changed instant. Ennis, Hassan said. Smenis smiles. Arrogantly, weeks ago, but her expression otherwise. Marius, attorney, continued. Witness Wissa state. Whitmore insulted my client during sessions before throwing wine directly into her face, but 2 weeks might. Sasmai. Ennis might. Asas. Osmas. Osmas. Nice. Osmas. Be. Osmai. This is so which are also so sorry. This is so sorry. Moscow so tempty. Osmas so way. Isma. Asumi. Asum also smiles, it's my size. Isma. Also some Moscow so says gigas as my size so nice. Oscars. It's Whitmore says. Whisters spread quietly across courtroom seats. Carelessly, Whisters just admitted everything. Publicly. Judge Morris slowly removed glasses. Miss Muffron's confident. You threw wine into Miss Lopez. They approach evidence. First side, cross. Services. Face courtroom lights dim slightly. This is first. First disappeared. Kara. This train trace first mouse. Doris best friends and this is first earthers. So sacredness. So curses. So smiles. Yes. Agent. UI. This is us. Us says. This says. Smells. There is such decisions. It's a suicide. Faces. Face. Affairs. Says. Says. Says impetus. Says. Birds nervously. The miss sat there, smiling proudly. Let us, there's, there are sources at their size. Yes, this is us. There is his furry. Also size. This is so smart. There are some success. This is sad. This was it. It is us. Is best. It's also sister. Is a. Is best. Some success. All sad. All success. You some success. No matter size mass. It says. It does. Usually success. This success. Dance. Says. There is such a truth. Says. This is my sister. This is the teachers. This is nice. This is nice. This chorus. This is answers. This is a face. This is yes, this is sisters. This is smart. The footage Morris stared directly filled courtroom. Judge Morris directly toward Vanessa. Judge Morris shrugged carelessly. People exaggerate everything these days. Judge Morris looked stunned from audience wise. Raise Morris. The unexpected happened. Something dark suit calm expression. Judge Morris looked toward him. Identify seats. Judge Morris looked towards name. Identify yourself. Please, cracked instantly. Because Richard Whitmore was Court's former father-in-law. Richard stepped forward slowly. I was inside restaurant. That evening, Judge Morris Marnshouse nodded. Loudly. Please, Richard ignored her completely. That young woman served your table professionally for over an hour. For an hour, while you insulted her repeatedly. Courtroom remained completely silent and listening. Carefully, Richard continued. Emotionally, you mocked her accent, first in her stay, her income. Emotionally to you, Richard continued, Marches Maury, softly. It's emotional. Audience members' hands, slowly. Judge Morris folded done nothing wrong. Judge Morris folded hands, cold defensively. Because, taking your order, Vanessa suddenly snapped. Emotionally. Maria her ex-lice, victims. Judge Morris must realize too late how sound that sounded. But damage already done, Richard's Mossad called terrible Mossad. Sus Mossa Sonos Mossos Mossas Mossas Mossasa. Ossis Sos Modimas Mossasa. Osas Mossa. Os Mossosa. Mos. Mos Mossasas. Osas. Osas Mos Mossasa. Os Mossasas. Osa. Sonus Osai. Mos Mossos Mos Mossos Mor. Mos. Osasa. Os. Mossas Mortavis Osas Mossas Mos Mos. Mos Mossos Mossa. Mossas 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 Mos Mos Mossar. Mossas. Sos Mossas Mossa. Judge Morris saw. Sosas Mori. Then, another important detail regarding emotional damages suffered by client, Maria Messent, immediately looked nervous. The attorney continued softly. The night of incident, Miss Lopez's daughter was hospitalized after severe asthma attack. Suddenly, story stars morphed. Human Maria began crying quietly. Judge Morris' expression softened immediately. Most cheer brace. Yaristas brass expressionist, or missing work. I could just come from hospital. Before my shift, nobody moved. Nobody. I can shook badly. When she threw wine at me, everybody stared like I was worthless. Even bailiff looked problems. Judge Morris exploded with disbelief. Judge Morris just stared emotional, and she muttered tully. Judge Morris State Recker is serious. Balm entered. Mora didn't tailored suit. Serious expression. Controlled anger. And moment ex-husband. And moment, Vanessa saw him all color disappeared from first. The first goes. Citizen Bros Sally Daniels whispers. Judge Morris directly toward Vanessa. Instantly us. Niles immediately. Furious folder. Then Morris nodded. Once necessarily. Morris Modas. Janos Star. Morris Brightside. Nesting Records. Reconitas. He placed them carefully onto Judge's desk. Moston Stacy Cheerses. Mars. Istan. Isnars. Cesar. Mos. Istas. Des. Mos. Small. Mos. Sounds stars. Mos to stars. Mos. Cestis silent. Mos. One. What? Mos. SS. Mos. Thicker set. Stan. Mosses. Mosses. Sisas. Asiter. For years, Vanessa has humiliated employees, assist drivers, and restaurant workers. Anyone she believed was beneath her resigned after panic attacks. Daniel continued calmly. 3 employees mocked her publicly. During charity dinner, another employee required therapy after the repeated humiliations. Courtroom became plateliness. Judge Morris reviewed papers. Her expression became. Daniel looked gently toward Maria. This isn't unusual behavior. This is who she is. Vanessa finally exploded emotionally. Publicly Morris turned toward her immediately. You perfect public into Vanessa's eyes. You know what hurt? Most. Vanessa stayed silent. You know what, Art? Most Vanessa's voice trembled emotionally. The woman audience started crying softly like I wasn't. Even. Human Vanessa slowly looked to an audience, started to maintain eye contact. Anymore, Maria continued, quietly. Judge Morris slowly, my daughter was struggling to breathe in hospital, and you treated me like entertainment. Marston slowly is not character. Nobody, Maurice, nobody blinked. For first time in years is so powerful, forced her to confront herself as honest. Judge Morris's eyes. This court dismisses all file by Miss Whitmore. What continued, this business dismissed. This piece is not. Speech bones. Sorry, speech no speech bone. This is speech bones is CC. Is once. Speech stories, is speech sound. Maurice small, silent. Smithsat, Maurice solo source. Mostly, source to see. This is lost solo. Bus source, bus, polars. Baseball. Gasps spread instantly throughout courtroom. Maria covered mouth, crying uncontrollably. But Judge Morris wasn't finished. Furthermore, Miss Lopez is awarded damages for emotional distress, public humiliations, and sharperies. Morris, qui stored order. Vanessa stared silently downward, destroyed, completely. And Judge Morris' voice remained calm but sharp. Miss Whitmore, your behavior demonstrates cruelty, abuse of power, and complete lack of empathy. Beings. People working charting service jobs are not beneath you. They are human beings, deserving respect, dignity, and basic kindness. Courtroom remained completely silent. Came final moment nobody expected. As Vanessa stood to the away aggressively. Vanessa suddenly exploded emotionally. Don't touch me, officer barely moved, but Vanessa shoved his arm away aggressively. Don't touch me, shoved officer harders. Seconds, security stepped forward from both sides. The exact same woman who entered courtroom. Acting outside courtroom and powerful, down Vanessa everywhere, some recording on phones, some silently, and Vanessa Whitmore walked out, crying, humiliated and completely and Vanessa whisper answers what is her answers as issue answers yours is answer yours is as sir is a star stars us. Meanwhile, Maria remained seated quietly, crying soft time at her deli. Judge Morris vanishes him gently. You never deserved any of this. Maria broke down completely. Because sometimes the most powerful thing broken person can hear is to slowly emptied afterward, but nobody forgot what they witnessed. That day, and definitely not moment, wealth failed to protect cruelty. Cameras flashed everywhere. Crowded hallway waiting for statements. Cameras flashed everywhere. Vanessa kept face lowered while security escorted her through crowd. For first time in years, nobody looked at her with admiration. Only disappointment, only disgust. Meanwhile, Maria remained seated quietly, poor looking toward Nursmore. Hands still trembled. Tears still rolled slowly down her face. Judge Morris gathered paperwork calmly before looking toward Maria. Once more, Miss Lopez. Maria looked up. You showed more dignity under humiliation than many powerful people ever show in comfort. Maria began crying again, not from sadness, embarrassment, humiliation in public. Canali, Fadi Final believed her. Judge Harper remained silent for several long seconds while courtroom waited nervously. Then she spoke finance. Ryan slowly pushed aside defense table. Judge Harper stared directly into his eyes. You publicly humiliated elderly worker because you continued sharply. Yes, you destroyed relationship business reputation. Public respect and most importantly, your own relationship business reputation slightly. Mr. Bennett spent 41 years serving trains respectfully. Even reporters stopped typing. Voice softened slightly. Mr. Bennett, you spent one evening proving money cannot buy character. Harold quietly lowered eyes. Emotionally, then Judge Harper delivered Benedict wasn't this erupted futus. Brian closed eyes painfully, but Harper wasn't listen finished. For Mr. Calloway will fund Hospitality Worker Assistance Program through Holloway's Hospitality Assistance Program. Through Holloway Hotels Foundation gasps, respect. Ryan nodded weakly. Yes, Your Honor. Then Harper spoke one final sentence. Entire resulted. Yet sign Judge Harper's people, one final sentence, usfosen. Judge Harper's votes is everything's news to truth, yours posen, new sentences. Meanwhile, Harold quietly cried beside plaintiff, not because money, but because, after ein of intussen, realizing this timid kindness, millions, then spent 41 years, same thing character. Harrod, more than wealth, ever will. Meanwhile, donations began appearing for Maria's daughter, Sophia. Strangers from across country offered support, medical assistance, and encouraging messages, because one anonymous donation covered entire month of hospital treatment. When Maria discovered it, she broke down crying inside hospital hallway because after feeling invisible for so long, complete strangers finally reminded her she home surrounded by expensive furniture. Expensive jewelry inside massive luxury surrounded by complete silence because with Poweth, she always looks strongest right before collapse weeks later. Maria returned quietly and in violence, because power without kindness to Sunset Grill itself, and cruelty whispered to Sunset Grill restaurant. Instead, entire restaurant staff applauded. Employees hugged emotionally. Others cried because many of them had a similar humiliation from wealthy customers before, but nobody had ever fought back publicly. Maria's manager approached till you're ready. Maria smiled softly for first time, more confident. Later, that evening, Maria visited Sophia at hospital, her daughter, who smoked while holding stuffed mild weekly from hospital bed. Maria laughed through tears. Sweetheart, Steve. Yeah, sweetheart. She finally did. Months later, people still remembered case across internet. Not because Vanessa Whitmore was wealthy. People remembered story because they saw themselves trials in Maria, a tired worker trying to survive. Because they saw themselves as like Maria's dire noise, forced smiles, someone constantly footage continued spreading on millions watched Judge Morris' final speech repeatedly. Especially one sentence wealthy was Morris' final speech online. Millions watched Judge even television programs case publicly. But Maria avoided attention. Possible. She was interested in becoming internet at Kears. She only avoided attention whenever possible. She only cared about Sophia getting healthy. And slowly, things started changing. Doctors finally delivered hopeful news about Sophia's condition. Maria cried quietly after hearing it. Not dramatic tears, but just exhausted relief. Maria Vanessa Whitmore disappeared almost completely from public friends, distanced them. Luxury invitations stopped arriving business. Reputation collapsed piece by because something more esteemed. She stopped feeling powerless. That's what real justice actually looks like. Not revenge, not humiliation, just finally realizing your worth was never decided by cruel people in first place.